All right, you guys ready to trim these cute little ramen bowls? So I've got them attached to the wheel head with the Giffen grip. I love using the Giffen grip. It makes it so much faster and easier. So we just have a little bit to take off of the bottoms here. You can tell I've got my trimming tool and I'm just spinning my wheel quite fast. And I'm just going to remove any excess clay that I have right down on the sides here. And then I'm going to go from where the base meets the bottom, and I'm going to put in a couple little lines. The little lines that I put in there, these lines that I add to most of my pots, they just help a couple things. They help if the glaze is runny. It helps the glaze have a spot to kind of pool. And then also it just makes the bottoms look finished. It gives it that little finished look where it doesn't look like it's half done, where you're kind of questioning it. So I do almost always put those lines in, unless visually I don't like it. And then sometimes with the Giffen grip, if you squeeze it a little too tight, it'll leave little marks on your pot. So if that happens, just take your rib and kind of clean it up a little bit. But here we go with the next one. I got it nice and cinched in. And then I'm going to take my trimming tool. My left hand is always going to be holding my pot. My right hand is going to be removing any extra clay that I have on there. Since I do have texture, I don't want to trim away that texture. So when I was throwing it, I was very cautious that my walls were the thickness that I want them in the end. Also, since I'm not adding a foot, I'm just kind of evening off that bottom. I want it to kind of concaved a little bit because we don't want it to rock. We want it to sit flat on a table or surface. Here, I gotta grab my coffee break, and we'll go on to the next one. These are a little on the wet side, and so I keep checking them to make sure that I've got the driest one out of the bunch. None of these have a lot of clay that needs to be removed. That's the nice part about making sure your thickness is good while you're throwing. It makes this a lot faster process. But here I am just removing anything that I don't want or I don't like. Then of course, going over the bottom, I generally will start in the center of the bottom and work my way out. And then always these two little lines that you'll see here in a minute, right up by where the foot would be if there was going to be a foot. And I like the little trimming tool for that. It just works out quite well. And then I make sure there's no little marks from that Giffen grip, and then carry on to the next one. So here we've got it nice and centered on the Giffen grip. Then we've got it cinched in. Spin your wheel. Never touch your clay unless your wheel is spinning. That goes for trimming also, unless you're just holding it on the top. But if you're actually working on it, make sure that wheel is going around. Another thing when you're trimming, if you're going at a really slow speed, it is going to make it really difficult to get a nice even trim. You're going to be gouging it a lot if you're going slow. It's going to be a lot easier if you've got that wheel spinning quite fast. So cinch it in, make sure it's centered. I like to take one hand, my left hand, place it right on top of my piece, and then my left thumb touches my tool. If you look here, you can see that my left thumb is actually right on the sharp end of the tool. And this really helps me stay stable. So, little trick that I tend to do just to stay stable. Also, I've got that arm resting on my leg. Another thing, when I'm throwing, my body is right up to that wheel. But when I'm trimming, I back off just a little bit. It doesn't look like it in this video, but I'm not as close to my wheel as what I normally am when I'm throwing. So if you're having problems, you want to kind of push your butt back a little bit and then make sure both hands are working together and one of them is anchored. So just trimming a little bit off of that bottom. Put my lines right there, my stop lines. Don't forget to sign your pots. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something new, then please like and subscribe. I love to have ya, and I love to see you in the studio. Till next time.